Hey, Mark and Joey here from the Ultimate Sports Channel. It's Monday night. We've had a bit of a rough time here, weather-wise and everything else. And you thought you were going to get out and play golf today, which you did a little bit.
A little bit of practice.
But pushing us to Monday, hoping to see what maybe the final of the NFL game would be tonight. But we're going to run out of time here. It's close, so we don't know who's going to win the game that's happening right now. But we're going to get into our NFL show here. But I do want to mention ultimatesportschannel.com. Head over there. Besides our podcasts, which are done on Patreon, you will see a sports feed every day, all the sports that you want to see. You want to see the news on those. There's some other podcasts on there. On Fox, you've got Coward on there that we see his show. So lots of things happening at the ultimatesportschannel.com. Also, we have some bonuses there for you under our sponsor side. If you want to go to that page on the website, you'll see some bonuses that we have there for you as well. So, Joey, let's get into the NFL. And it's been a hell of a week with some major stories. Always seems to be off the field stuff. Well, it was on the field, but all the discussion happened off the field. Let's get right into the biggest one. We're hockey fans, obviously having been from Canada, and we happen to be down in Myrtle Beach. By the way, you see a nice building in the background there. Beautiful spot. We're right down on the beach here in Myrtle Beach for the next 2 months. And anyway, the action on the football field actually looked even worse than it does in the hockey rink sometimes.
Yeah, so obviously we're talking about the fight between Myles Garrett and Mason Rudolph, and it happened on Thursday night, so we're a little bit after most people, which I think it's good because I think it's died down a little bit and people are now looking at it a little bit more calmly than obviously when they did. And when it did happen, it was taken very, very seriously, and people were looking at it as almost a legal thing because he clubbed a guy with a weapon, essentially. People are always thinking worst case scenario, which is possible. Death, even if he caught him in the wrong way, used the chrome of his helmet, maybe a head bleeding out, concussion, so on and so forth. Our opinion is very much similar to Max Kellerman, who I watch on First Take a lot, which is, there's a rule for it. There's this and that. Myles Garrett wasn't even the instigator. You believe he wasn't probably thinking in the moment that a guy charged at him, and no matter what size, no matter what position he plays, he charged at him. Myles Garrett is a right-handed player, swung his right hand, had the helmet, and hit him in the head. It's a very chaotic scene. It's hard to really get into it. I also have never played football, so up front, I don't have any experience. A lot of former football players are upset because obviously the image it paints of football and them specifically. So I understand that point of view too, but it was pretty hot take by everybody the night after it happened. I think the NFL handled it pretty well.
Well, I think so. I do agree. This is a violent sport. It's they've taken a lot of that out to avoid injuries.
Yeah.
But I look at the whole situation. First of all, he wasn't the instigator of this issue. In fact, it was 3-on-1 at the time that it happened.
Right.
No one's gonna say it's okay to take what people could consider a weapon and swing it at a person. I mean, no one's going to agree with that for sure. But there was extenuating circumstances here. I think, and in fact, the Pittsburgh guys were really taking advantage of him 3-on-1. I think there was even worse violence after the fact that the Pittsburgh guy was actually kicking him when he's down, which, by the way, is a real law.
Yeah.
Like, if you ever beat someone up like that on the street, that's a real law. He took one swing, with the helmet, which is a spur-of-the-moment bad thing to do. But, I think they got the suspensions right. I think it was just part of the game. I feel bad, but you know what? You can't let the Pittsburgh quarterback go without blame. He actually went back at him after it was all over. Really, it was all over. Kind of everybody was getting jostling. He was the one who took off back at him and reinstigated it. So there was lots of factors within that. I'm glad they didn't make it a the year, 2-year suspensions and stuff like that. I think everybody involved was to blame. And, I think they got to handle it right, and it's kind of gone by the wayside now. So that was good to see.
Yeah, I mean, it obviously can go a little bit farther because, they said they have not ruled out next year yet as a suspension. I hope they don't. I hope they probably did that, I think, to let it calm down. Yeah. So, they took kind of what was necessary. Unfortunately, there is a rule that says you just get kicked out for taking a helmet and swinging it. Now, it never says what you connect with and what the result of that might be. But obviously, we live in a world where the consequence depends a little bit on the result. And luckily, Mason Rudolph wasn't that hurt. But, it's just obviously something that was blown out of proportion a little bit. I think the NFL did the best they could. They did suspend the guy who punched and kicked for 4 games, which I thought was good. They're going to find a lot of the guys who left the bench, because that's an actual rule too, by the way.
Exactly.
And then they did, get Mason Rudolph. I just think it was a tough situation, obviously, for the NFL, and that's the position they're put in. I think they should leave at the 6 games, and I think they will. I think they just needed to say there's still potential for next year, only because that's what people really wanted. Yet I don't see that happening. So, at the end of the day, I think the NFL kind of got away the best they could. They listened to probably what everyone had to say, and they picked a reasonable length of suspension, the reasonable amount of fines, and suspended actually a lot more players than I would have thought, but the right amount of players personally. But anyways, I hope Myles Garrett can get past. I hope people forget. People have kind of already forgotten. I mean, you get more games going on Sunday and Monday. All of a sudden, it's still up there, but less, obviously.
Well, and you and I watching all sports, not just football. First of all, in baseball, a pitcher throws a 90-mile-an-hour fastball at a guy's head sometimes. I mean, this kind of things happen in every sport. Football shouldn't take this as, oh, it's football. In hockey, which is our sport not here in Canada, but when we're in Canada,
stand toe-to-toe.
they'll stand toe-to-toe and fight, and helmets will be taken off, sweaters will be taken off. I'm not a proponent of it, but I don't think the NFL should be taking this so hard. That this one thing happened, this one swing of the helmet. There's serious things that happen in all sports that are aggressive. Like I say, in baseball, which you wouldn't normally call aggressive, pitchers can kill somebody with a fastball that they throw at some guy's head. We've seen it since the beginning of time. And so, anyway, I think that it's done. I don't think it was as big an issue as it was made out to be. Unfortunately, guys got lots of suspension, which is too bad. And I don't think the NFL should be too worried about it.
No.
All the aggressive sports have had issues like this.
They kind of had to do it, though, and I think they did it.
Yeah.
They needed to respond, and I think at the end of the day, even though I'm more on the side of what Max Kellerman is, which is it was kind of ridiculous that people were going, oh, press charges against this guy.
Yeah.
At least, kind of what Stephen A. Smith was saying the whole time on his point was he knew what was going to happen, and it had to happen, and it did. So at the end of the day, I think the NFL made the correct decisions, even though I think it was a little of proportion. But you know what? It makes a statement, and hey, guess what? I don't think anyone's going to be doing that anytime soon.
Well, yeah, and as we talk about it, there's rules for these things, and you apply the rule, and it should never matter the end result of it. I mean, there's a rule in there, the action happened, and it has a consequence to it. But it's a rule that had a very specific thing, and in fact, the suspension overdoes what the rule was because of the uproar within the league, right? So,
but you know what? It took away from a good Cleveland win. They've now won 2 in a row. That's an interesting story going forward. But anyways, on the fight, I say NFL got unscathed, did rather well, handled himself appropriately. At the end of the day, hopefully all the players can bounce back and be just fine.
I agree.
And guess what? It suspended every player that was involved for the next time they play, which is only in 2 weeks. So it's smart too.
Yeah. So it gave them some time to deal with the backlash of the fans and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, there we go. Number one topic, but number two here is we're watching it right now. You might see our eyes diverted to the TV. The game in Mexico tonight. I mentioned to you, they're looking for fans everywhere they can. It's smart. Certainly,
very smart.
Certainly, this sport has more gambling on it than any other sport there is, and so. Being in other countries gets those people to be fans, gets them to bet on the games, gets them to view the games. That these are huge markets with lots of population.
Well, yeah, and first of all, I'll say they actually started a trend. Hockey's going over now worldwide,
Everybody's
going in China, going in Sweden. Basketball is in China. Obviously, that did not go as well as I thought with some of the comments from an owner. But, every sport has now followed the NFL's way, going different places to play games. And the NFL is obviously always smart. That's why they're the biggest sport kind of in the world when they do play. And, good on them. I mean, in Mexico tonight, I'm glad it worked out. The field did not work out last year.
Yeah, it's actually looking pretty good.
They fixed that. It looks amazing. The fan is sold out. I mean, the fans are incredible. Truly awesome. And they look like they're having a close game on their hands here. But yeah, really excited for the NFL. Good for them. Let it trend throughout all of the leagues as they do. They're trendsetters, and they're going to get a good game forward. And I think it's really cool. Obviously.
Well, and it's the interesting part for the NFL is they're not a worldwide sport.
No.
Like most sports are played in many other countries. Many sports, certainly baseball, certainly hockey, their players come from all over the world. Typically, the NFL is 99% American. So they're using this to really explode the sport as a whole. And hopefully, long term, you're going to have players coming from other countries over to play in the NFL.
It's going to be very difficult, but it's obviously the goal. More importantly, I think it's to get fans and maybe even think about how can we get a team in one of these places. They even came to Canada, which does have their own league, but we'll see going forward. I mean, I think it's always going to be tough to integrate players from other places. A couple of rugby players have done a decent job. But anyways, Game in Mexico tonight, looking pretty good going in the second half.
But they might have to, if they're going to keep doing this, change the name because people are confused when they say football. So now they've moved. Now they've moved to the part of the world where football means soccer to us. They may have to come up with a new branding or something. But anyway, it's a terrible game tonight. 10-9, two potent offenses. And one of the things I was mentioning to you is the elevation. It's tough enough to go to play the Broncos with how far the ball will go in the light air. Same thing here. This is higher. This is a higher elevation, 4,000 feet higher. 3,000 feet higher than Colorado. So that looks like it's changed the metrics here of the offenses. Is not looking very good. But anyway, two great teams over there, and it's going to be a close finish, even though it's very low scoring. So we'll see what happens. But good on the NFL as they lead down that path. Not as good. In subject 3 here, Mitch Trubisky with Chicago. It's a very sad year for them.
Yeah.
It's just not been good. The whole team has not been good. And, I think we're going to see something here, which is unfortunate. I've always talked about this, first round draft picks, and they only give him 2 years. He has a bad year. They're already talking about getting him out of town.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly looking like that. I don't really know why. I mean, I really kind of like Mitch Trubisky. I feel like the game plan has really fallen off. I mean, even last night they were talking about the game plan they had last year, which was all this fancy stuff. And this year they've really dumbed it down. But virtually not allowing him to throw. And I think the biggest thing right now for him is he's having trouble making decisions, and the plays they're calling aren't helping. Everyone's on his case. Obviously, they can't run the ball either. The offensive line looks a little worse than last year, but it's going to be one of those situations I'm fearing, but based on what I hear, that they're already looking at drafting another quarterback, that this first-round guy is going to be floated around the league, probably out of the league in 4 years, something like that. You see it all the time.
Kind of reminds you of Josh Rosen.
Well, he's stuck right now in Miami, too.
Yeah,
and
he gets drafted.
Yeah.
They don't like the first year. They bring in a new kid who's playing well. I can't blame them. But, yeah, there you are. You're a good draft pick, and he might be out of Chicago, which may not be the worst thing for him, because he might go somewhere else and get a bit of a chance to sit behind an experienced quarterback, come back, and in the old days, rookies never played.
Well, yeah,
4 or 5 years before they'd ever play.
Sorry to cut you off, but you did, give me an idea there. He might be the next Teddy Bridgewater, which now has kind of rejuvenated his career because he was in Minnesota, obviously had a good season. His was more injuries, but now he's found himself behind Drew Brees, healthy, a little bit older, obviously learning. Probably won't take over that job because I see Brees still playing for a couple years, but we'll get starting money from some desperate team next year. Trubisky might get lucky that way, but I still think it's a little ridiculous right now in Chicago. But obviously, it's a big football market. They had such high hopes. The division's gotten really tough again with Minnesota and Green Bay. They obviously got a top defense, which is pissing off kind of the fans because they're going, oh my God, but number one defense.
We don't score that
can't
much.
Score points. Lots of questions there. I didn't like what they did last night with him.
Terrible.
I don't care how injured he was. You don't do that. I think that's messed up. But, hopefully he can come back.
Joey, just explain what that was with, no time left.
No time left. They put in the backup quarterback.
Inside their own 10 yards.
For the last drive. Yeah. There's only a minute left. You couldn't come back in the game. It was absolutely ridiculous that they did that and really made embarrassment of him on Sunday Night Football, where, by the way, it's an individual game. That was not a good look. Everyone was watching, and that's what you do to your quarterback. Yeah. That tells me they're not expecting to be the franchise guy. So watch for him to be on the move, but maybe, in a way, help his career in the long run. Maybe he can get on a better team.
Well, and also, I think it was Troy Aikman talked about he believes he's injured and that they're not telling
anybody. Troy Aikman believes he's injured, and they came out and said he is injured this morning, but it just seemed like weird timing last night, like, give me a break. That's when you decided to pull him. So we'll see what goes on there in Chicago, but definitely maybe a shakeup coming next year.
Yeah, for sure, and it's a tough football town, so he's not going to get any breaks there, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Well, talking about quarterbacks being done, what about Cam Newton now? We sort of written him off. You and I talked 2 weeks ago or last week that Newton's done, the young guy's there, and all of a sudden they've lost 2 in a row, and what's happening now?
Yeah, and I tell you what, the other problem Kyle Allen's running into is Cam Newton's kind of loved in Carolina. As much as we've kind of been like, we kind of upset with the way he's performed through his career, thinking a little bit overrated. Although I understand the skill aspect that people see, and I just don't think he's been able to channel it. I think he's obsessed with running the ball.
Yeah.
Now, people have been saying he's been injured for a while now, and he never really wanted to leave. He's finally taking that time off. But, this kid came out, did so well, now he's doing so bad. They're already calling for Cam Newton to come back and play. They now want him back next year. It was a pretty dismal game against Green Bay. He could have won that one with a last-second chance. Then this week, obviously getting blown out by Atlanta is not a good look if you want to keep your job. So we will see. I think now, I don't see him traded automatically. They were saying it's a guaranteed trade.
I thought it was a guarantee, yeah.
I think now it's a battle in camp. I mean, I think they're going to wait and see how healthy he comes back. And maybe if he has the arm of when they went 15-1, they might keep him around. I mean, they might as well. They were going to trade him, and I never agree with that in the first place. Might as well keep him. He ain't going anywhere. He's under contract. But, I think there's a strong possibility we see him starting for Carolina again.
Well, I think they were looking at the contract and everything else, ready to move him.
Yeah.
But certainly these 2 losses changed their mind, that possibility.
Yep.
And, I hope that Newton come back. I've never liked Cam Newton. I don't like guys that are arrogant as hell and have not proven anything.
Right.
He had one season, a very weak schedule, that, everybody called him the next great, the next Brady, all this kind of stuff. He has a tremendous ego. If you don't get to watch the shows, I forget which streaming service.
All or Nothing on Amazon.
All or Nothing, but watch them. It's a whole year where they follow a football team. We saw Dallas today. I've seen the one on Carolina. So I'm not a fan of Cam Newton from that perspective alone, but I don't think he's ever lived up to the talk either. So we'll see what happens for next year. We'll see if he comes back this year. I don't know if there's any value in doing that, but we'll see what happens.
He won't come back this year. He is placed on injury reserve. So he's done for the year. So Kyle Allen will get the rest of the year to see what he can prove. But I just think, they're definitely not getting rid of him in the summer when everyone thought it was a guarantee.
For sure. And I missed the fact that he'd been placed there on the end of the season. So now let's look at another one, which is an absolute joke. So, as much as some of these quarterbacks are struggling, the Kaepernick thing, that is a farce beyond belief.
Well, I mean, it's pretty embarrassing what he did to the NFL, obviously changing the site. He had 32. So obviously he had 32 teams at one location there, switches it to go to a different location, a high school, with his own receivers, his own media crew and video cameras.
Just 30 minutes before they got
and it's 100 miles away. So he only ended up having 8 guys there, which was ridiculous. It shows you he's not serious, that he's all about the money. He filmed a commercial there. His interview is so arrogant and out there. I don't like it. Yeah. But with that being said, we know teams are desperate for quarterbacks. From what I heard, his arm looked good. I'm not a believer in him. I hope he doesn't get signed. I don't think he will get signed because of this act right here. I don't understand. You really want to play. You go where the NFL sent 32 scouts.
Yeah. On
your behalf, by the way. A lot of teams didn't really need to go. And you show up for them and you play for them. And he didn't do that again. So we will see what continues there. But the saga continues. I don't even want to get into it. We've had so many discussions.
It's ridiculous.
Let's just say the saga continues. And I hope he doesn't get an opportunity because I feel like he's bullying the league around. And it's the league he wants to play in. So it makes no sense.
Well, and let's face facts. He was 2-10, I think, in his last 12 games.
Stephen A. Smith said, guys.
And he was a backup quarterback. Wasn't on even a good team at that point. Yeah. He couldn't even be number 1 with San Francisco, who was weak. I mean, they're strong now, but they were weak at the time. So what is the big deal about this guy? I mean, people are talking about him being forced not to play. He just isn't good enough to play, and the tryout was stupid. I mean, he didn't have a setup of defensive guys coming at him or anything. Just took the ball, stepped back, and fired the ball. Well, of course he's got that talent. So does every quarterback in the NFL. They don't have anybody rushing at them.
I look pretty good.
Every single one. So,
it's a long story, but
brutal.
One thing go check out is Stephen A. Smith. I like the video he did. Very I mean, he's not a guy, he rants a lot, but he is really, really smart.
Yeah.
We've come to know this for a while. And he went back and forth with Eric Reed on Twitter as well. I think what he said was spot on. You might disagree, but go check it out and let me know your thoughts. I think it was a great thing he did.
Yeah, I think he did. And unfortunately, just a farce when it comes up. We're going to get to this one, which is the next story, which I've predicted as soon as he retired. But the Gronk is looking at coming back. But you told me, and I didn't see this story yet, you told me it's probably not for New England.
So, if he comes back, I still think it would be for New England. But he made a joke saying the Dallas Cowboys can use a tight end like him.
Yeah.
So, maybe it's not. I don't know. I don't really know what's going on with Gronk. He's making an announcement on Tuesday. Talk about kind of using the public to kind of create whatever you want. It's kind of unfair right now, I believe, to the fans. I think Gronk, I hope this is a comeback announcement, because if it's not, you're really teasing us.
It's almost like Kaepernick.
Yeah, a little bit.
A
big announcement on Tuesday. Yeah. What could it be? And if it's like some announcing gig, I'm going to get pissed off.
Yeah, like he's joined CBS or something.
Yeah, we already know you're on Fox, but if it's like you're getting your own segment, I'm going to be pretty upset. So hopefully you're coming back. Gronk, I would not be happy if it's the Dallas.
Yeah.
Because, I thought the Pats were your guys. Brady was your quarterback. I still think if he comes back at all, it would be for the Patriots. I think he's just doing this all this through the stir the turd.
Yeah.
But anyway, we'll see.
Maybe he's friends
Tuesday
with,
morning.
Maybe he's friends with Jason Witten and just has given him the gears by saying they need a tight end.
I was thinking that too because he's kind of broadcasting when Witten went back and played.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what's going to go on here with Gronk. I just hope it's a comeback announcement because if it's not, I'll be pretty disappointed. And there's another video.
That's what everybody's assuming.
Yeah, there's another video saying that he is coming back that his father posted. So who knows how much truth that is. He looked a little drunk, but he said he was coming back in that video.
Yeah.
So who knows?
He probably looked at the 9-1 record and said, "Hey,
well, I'll tell you what,
Super Bowl.
The Pats need him.
Easy.
Their offense is horrible. And they're 9-1. That's a good problem to have. So I think he's looking at another Super Bowl for sure, and not having to do much work as well. So
and it's not one of our stories, but good on New England. I mean, Bill Belichick is proving maybe that he is the coach, and obviously Brady's a great quarterback. But what's been the reason? Well, as Brady got older here, he has now turned his mind to defense, and is actually now the defense is leading his team.
I'll tell you one thing,
and even Brady's admitting that.
Yeah, Brady's admitting it. He says the best part of the team is defense and special teams. I'd say it still comes down to the money Brady sacrificed his whole career, allowing them to build defense. The offense is struggling. They don't really have any receivers. That's why they need Gronk back. I mean, Edelman's getting so many goddamn targets, and the guy can only catch so many balls.
I don't know how he gets up Monday morning.
I don't know. I mean, that guy takes an absolute beating. By the way, he threw a touchdown pass. He has he has 2 touchdowns. Right. He's thrown the ball 5 times, 2 of them for touchdowns. He has a perfect passer rating. I just don't know what they're going to do, but they need to find something. They can't
might be able to replace Brady if he.
I tell you what,
if he retires and leaves the team.
Yeah, Brady's not. I mean,
we're now hearing Brady wanting to play till he's 50, maybe.
Yeah, I just don't know. Brady's moving well. Actually, he's been moving better than I've ever seen.
It's amazing
because the pocket's been collapsed on him really, really fast. But it's just not having receivers to create space, and then Edelman's getting a bunch of targets. Eventually, he can't keep on catching them. So that's why they need Gronk back.
But how cool was it to see him throw a pass? Now you did mention he was a college
quarterback, and a high school quarterback.
So
was drafted as a quarterback. We've seen it before.
Yeah.
So it's not surprising.
Just too small, but when you put him out in the open like that, was a great
tell you now,
pass.
if he was drafted now as a quarterback, he'd be pretty good.
Yeah.
His speed, his toughness, his arm.
It's amazing.
It'd be interesting.
I was really surprised. So anyway, that was fun to watch, if nothing else.
The best joke was online when I said, when you realize the Pats are the second best quarterback in the AFC along with the first. I was like, that's pretty cool.
That was hilarious. Yeah. All right, well, let's move to our next story. We talk about the MVP race continuing. This is not a race. I just can't even believe anybody's talking about it.
It's an ongoing topic.
Are you kidding me?
The favorite is still Wilson, believe it or not. I think it has to be Lamar Jackson.
It's shocking. 7-7 or 40-7 on the weekend.
Well, you know what?
Crushing teams.
I must admit, the team of Baltimore is a little bit better than just the defense really is the best. I think the offense side of the ball, Russell Wilson definitely has more weapons, but on defense, obviously Baltimore is a little bit better. People are considering that. The fact that he gets the ball a lot more often, and he easily has more drives than Russell Wilson. But I just think people are only voting for Russell because they know Lamar will be the future of the NFL and he'll get his chance. But I tell you what, I think he deserves it right now.
Oh my God.
He has been fantastic. What he did the other day against Houston, really a team people thought would be pretty good. Houston's in trouble, by the way. But anyway, his running ability, but his throwing ability, guys. He threw a couple nice passes to his tight end for 2 touchdowns. His running ability is insane. He's probably the fastest guy on the field. It's like Tyreek Hill being quarterback with an arm. It's that good, and I would give it to him right away. I understand why Wilson will probably get it, I think, only because he's been in the league a bit longer. He does hold all these stats since he's been in the league, which is still impressive. Most wins, most comeback wins, most touchdowns, So he kind of probably feels due in a way because out there in Seattle, it's always been about the defense. It's finally about the offense and his weapons there. So I could see it going to him because people assume Lamar will eventually get one himself. But I tell you what, they're both very exciting to watch. And honestly, if you had to have a Super Bowl right now, that would be my favorite pick.
Oh
the MVP case, Lamar versus Wilson, the Super Bowl would be something else. So very impressive stuff, though, out in Baltimore. And they're going to play the Rams next week. I'm interested. That'd be another big game for him. But I think he might
for sure. I mean, I think he's going to destroy every team he plays right now. There's no way to stop the guy.
And the defense has stepped up, losing three all-pro defensive players. I still predict them, we both, to win the division, and they've proved us right. They've stepped up.
And when we look at Wilson, probably the one thing he's taken out of his game is the running.
Yeah,
he doesn't really run anymore. Once you sign a quarterback to $35 million a year, you need to keep him healthy, and I think that's what they're doing because he's not using that part of his game. But Lamar is doing that. He looks fantastic. He's so fast. It's unbelievable. The one run he had where he got outside and then got past the first tackler, gone 20 yards is amazing.
Well, his speed when he wants to go straight is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And more importantly, Coach of the Year is going to be Harbaugh out there in Baltimore.
Yeah.
Very impressive stuff for sure.
Yeah, so I think there's no doubt in my mind it's all him. All right, well, let's look at the other side of it, the multiple MVP in the league over the number of years here. And Brady's even mentioned this, that the New England offense is a problem coming into the
Yeah,
playoffs.
so we did just talk about this, but is it more of a decline on Brady himself or the whole offensive line? First of all, I'll say the O-line has not been as good as maybe in years past. I said before he doesn't have any other receivers. They got rid of Josh Gordon, which surprised me, which makes me believe they knew Gronk was maybe coming back here in the future. It's very shocking to me. They also didn't go make they didn't go make an underrated trade that turns out well for them.
Yeah.
Normally they do that at some point. I thought, maybe someone out there in Detroit and Danny Amendola might come over. They got a connection. Obviously, Matt Patricia, the head coach of Detroit. I thought maybe one of those underrated receivers out there would be a good weapon for him. But it's something weird. I mean, normally they make a trade when they feel like it's necessary. And they didn't do that this year. They're stuck with the guys they got, and then they got rid of probably one of the fastest guys in the league. So I don't know what their plans are going forward.
Yeah.
Maybe having
defense, that's what their plans are.
maybe having James White being a full-time receiver or something. But Brady in the offense looked bad. He actually looks okay, although his accuracy is a little bit off. I'd say he's throwing a lot in the dirt. His long balls have been a little bit overthrown, but I'd say his strength of the ball, the speed of the ball is there. So I guess it's just guys getting open at this point.
Well, I think they've lost a little bit of, they can inject any guy they want in the offense, which is what they used to do, be able to do all the time, and Brady picked up everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So if we're talking about has his skills declined, certainly they're going to, but I think the part that's declined is he can't win for everybody. I think that's part of the problem. I think we see a lot of his misses are bad routes by his receivers. I find a lot of drop passes, all these kinds of things. The only one he has a connection with right now is Edelman. And you can't just have one receiver that you go to all the time because defense are going to pick up on that. But you know what? Terry Bradshaw said on the weekend it wasn't about Tom Brady, but it was about accepting what you are as a quarterback. And he accepted when he played for Pittsburgh that really the defense won those Super Bowls, even though he had 2 MVPs. He said, I was quite happy as a quarterback to have a defense that saved me a lot of times. Well, Brady's sounding the same way. I got to give it to him. He's not fighting it. He's not mad. He's saying, hey, it's great that our defense can go and win games for us. And that's a great attitude from him, as always.
Well, I tell you what, I think they always have something up their sleeve. So I don't know if it's the Gronk thing, if it's another thing, maybe it's a system thing. Who knows? But they seem to find something up their sleeve at some point. But I think you take any Super Bowl at this point. He just adds to his legacy, so he doesn't care how he gets done. He's still smart quarterback. I just think, again, we go to Baltimore or even an Oakland team right now. If your offense isn't holding the ball long enough, I'm just concerned because, I think someone like Baltimore could run down the Patriots defense, which would make it very difficult in the playoffs for them to win. So that's my biggest concern, actually.
However, the Broncos won a Super Bowl with Peyton Manning doing nothing with defense only, so maybe that can happen here.
But it's a lot tougher conference these days. Not only do you got Baltimore, the Colts look decent. Even Buffalo right now, as Josh Allen can get better. He put up 33 this weekend.
Yeah.
It's just something that we watch. One game where Brady gets... he's getting shut down every game. One game, though, the defense has a weak game, they could be out. That's concerning with one game in the playoffs, winner or out.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So there you go. Another week in the NFL. By the way, Kansas City just scored a touchdown. I know you didn't see it there. Anyway, so at the game...
Chargers should be winning this game.
They had the ball the whole game, but they can't get... You know what? Philip Rivers, another one of these older quarterbacks, man. He can't get in from the red zone. It's just unbelievable. And, they got a kicker. He's got a kick. He's tried 4 field goals, made 3. Today. So I think Philip Rivers, more than Brady even, is showing his age. His team is out of the playoffs after tonight.
He's definitely the one who's causing their problems.
We'll see what happens. Yeah, and he just doesn't look good. So there you go. That's the NFL for another week. We'll look forward to an exciting week coming up. We're getting down to the playoffs. There's a lot of exciting games coming up, and seeing who's going to get those favorite home games come playoff time, because we know how important it is that you have those home games when you get in the playoffs. So we'll see what happens. Anyway, that's it for the NFL. We look forward to chatting with you next Monday.